All right, so you're here to really get to the bottom of things, and today we're diving deep into something pretty critical in regulated industries.
Yeah, for sure.
Good manufacturing practices, or GMP.
GMP. Yeah, you can think of it as the kind of those really key international quality standards, for making all those important things like medicines,
Right.
medical devices, even some food products. You know,
Wow,
it's all about making sure that stuff is safe and it does what it's supposed to.
that makes a lot of sense. And in this deep dive, we want to extract the core principles of GMP,
Yeah.
and figure out why they really matter. And, our sources emphasize that it's not just a set of rules. It's
It's not.
it's like a whole way of thinking.
It is a mindset. It's a culture of quality,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
building that into every step.
Right. Okay. So maybe a good way to kind of wrap our heads around this is to look at what are sometimes called the 10 golden rules of GMP.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, I think that'll give us a good overview of the key principles. So let's jump into the first one. Write procedures and follow them.
Okay.
And this brings us to SOPs.
Standard operating procedures, right?
Yeah. What's the main idea here?
So the core idea is that every critical action in manufacturing and testing has to have a written SOP.
Okay.
So it's not just about, telling people what to do. It's making sure everybody's doing things the same way,
Consistent.
consistently, right? Minimizing those mistakes and having a really clear record of how things were done so you can track back if you need to.
So everybody's on the same page, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that kind of leads right into rule number 2, which is follow written procedures and document work.
Yes.
So it sounds like if you didn't write it down,
It didn't happen.
it didn't happen.
Right. It's like that classic GMP saying,
I'd love that.
if it isn't documented, it wasn't done.
It's so true.
So you have to have accurate, clear, and immediate record keeping
Immediate.
right when it's happening. You can't go back and fill things in later. And this includes, things like batch records that detail every step of making a specific batch. The SOPs themselves,
Oh, right.
test methods, equipment logs, even training records for everyone involved.
Yeah, okay.
Everything's documented.
Wow. Okay, rule number 3 is validate processes and procedures.
Okay.
So validation, I guess it's all about proving that things actually work, right?
Yeah, it's about rigorously proving that your processes and procedures actually do what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
It's not enough for something to just work once.
Right.
Validation shows that it works reliably every single time within these predefined limits.
Every time, that's important.
It's very important, and this applies to the whole manufacturing process, cleaning procedures, testing methods, even the equipment itself.
The equipment?
Yeah, you might hear these terms, IQ, OQ, PQ.
Oh, yeah.
So installation qualification, is it set up correctly? Operational qualification, does it function as intended? And then performance qualification, does it actually do what it's supposed to do in real-world conditions?
In real-world conditions.
Consistently, yeah.
Okay, got it. So rule number 4 talks about facilities and equipment.
Right. Design and use appropriate facilities and equipment.
Yeah. So I imagine this is all about minimizing contamination and stuff, right?
Absolutely. The design of the whole manufacturing environment, the equipment, it's all super critical for preventing contamination
Yeah.
and, for making cleaning and maintenance actually effective.
Right.
So you're thinking about things like, specially designed clean rooms with controlled airflow and using equipment made from materials that are really easy to clean.
Right. So it doesn't get all gunked up.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Rule number 5 focuses on materials.
Right. So control raw materials, components, and packaging materials.
So it's kind of know what you're starting with. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. The
Okay.
quality of the final product totally depends on the quality of the materials you start with.
Makes sense.
So all those materials have to meet really strict specifications and be tested thoroughly. And this also means, being careful about choosing your suppliers,
Oh,
making sure they're good.
they're legit.
Yeah, and maintaining traceability
Oh.
so you can track every single material back to where it came from.
Oh, wow. To the very beginning.
For the source, exactly.
Okay. Rule number 6 is label and control products in containers.
Okay.
Seems pretty straightforward, but I bet, mistakes here could have some big consequences.
Yeah, you're right. It seems simple, but accurate labeling is so important.
Yeah.
It's crucial for identifying products and for traceability.
Right.
Imagine if things were mislabeled. What a mess that would be.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
It's about having clear batch numbers
Okay.
and then also really controlling where those labeled materials are stored to prevent mix-ups.
Right. So everything's in the right place.
Everything's organized.
Okay. Rule number 7 takes us to the lab.
The lab, yeah. Conduct laboratory controls and testing.
Quality control.
Quality control, exactly. So this
Right.
is where you're actually verifying the quality of all your materials and products at different stages,
Yeah.
using those validated test methods.
Right.
And quality control,
Hmm.
they make the final call on whether a batch meets the specs and is safe to be released.
Huge responsibility.
Big responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. Rule number 8 deals with what happens when things don't go as planned.
Right. Handle rejections and recalls.
So having a plan for when things go wrong is just as important as the plan for when everything goes right.
Absolutely. You got to
Yeah.
be prepared for both scenarios.
Right.
So you need a really strong system for managing any materials that get rejected and a system for initiating recalls,
Yeah.
which is, that's critical for protecting public health.
Right.
And this also means figuring out why the problem happened in the first place.
Oh, right.
And then, implementing corrective and preventive actions, or a KPA,
Oh, right.
to prevent the same thing from happening again.
I see.
So you're learning from your mistakes
Right.
and making things better.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, rule number 9 is about kind of looking inward.
Yeah. Self-reflection. Conduct internal audits and inspections.
So like checking yourself.
Exactly. It's a proactive way to make sure you're staying on top of GMP compliance.
Okay.
So these regular internal audits,
Yeah.
they help you find any potential weaknesses or areas that need improvement
So you catch them before
before they become big problems. Yeah,
they become big problems.
exactly.
Awesome. Okay. And then finally, rule number 10 focuses on the people.
Right. The people doing the work, training and competence of personnel.
Because at the end of the day, you got to have knowledgeable people doing all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone involved in the whole manufacturing process has to be properly trained on GMP principles.
Right.
And they have to be competent in their specific roles.
Right.
And that means, initial training, regular refresher training, even assessments to make sure everyone's still up to speed.
Right. Because things change.
They do.
Processes change.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. So, it's worth mentioning that these aren't just like, friendly suggestions. These are serious guidelines
They're not suggestions.
issued by regulatory agencies like the US FDA,
Right.
with all those regulations like 21 CFR parts 210 and 211.
Yep. And in Europe, you have guidelines like ICHQ-7 for active pharmaceutical ingredients.
Right.
So compliance with GMP is a legal requirement.
It's a law.
You got to do it if you want to sell these products.
Right.
And it's really the fundamental way to ensure quality, safety, efficacy,
Right.
and to actually get approval from those regulatory agencies.
They're not going to prove it unless it's GMP.
Exactly. And, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's all about building that culture of quality.
Right. So it's not just checking boxes. It's like a whole
It's a mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So basically what GMP does is it gives this structured framework, right?
Yeah.
Based on documented procedures, thorough validation,
Right.
continuous oversight. And it's all aimed at, ensuring that these critical products are consistently high quality.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing risks so that patients and consumers can trust the products they're using.
Right. Because at the end of the day, people's lives are at stake with some of these products.
Absolutely.
So it's super important. And this brings up kind of a final thought. GMP is obviously specific to these regulated industries.
Right.
But think about how those underlying principles, having clear processes, checking for quality, always looking for ways to improve.
Right.
Think about how those could apply in other fields
Yeah.
or even, in your own personal projects.
It's a good way to live.
It's a good way to live, right?
Yeah.
So it's a framework for excellence that goes beyond the factory floor.
Absolutely.
So thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.